I know, right?
You're hilarious. How, so you're out in New York.
Yep, I'm in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, cool.
Yeah.
How's the weather out there today?
Today, it's actually beautiful. It's sunny, no humidity, nice breeze. The weather's been pretty rough this past several year, but it's nice today, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Is it as hot there as it is here? I mean, it's never going to be as hot as where I live. I live in the valley near, it's like, it's going to be, I mean, it's been 100 degrees now for 2 weeks straight, or over.
It's been high 80s, low 90s, but like very high humidity that
oh
like,
yeah. I don't miss that.
awful New York City summer that everybody loves so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't miss living on the East Coast for that reason.
Yeah.
I used to live in Virginia Beach for about 13 years before moving to LA, and that was one of the things that I hated, is like all the humidity, and then also all of the mosquitoes and bugs and stuff like
that's
that.
not good.
It's the worst. Anyway, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I kind of feel like I know you, but I don't know you.
No, you don't know me.
You
don't know me.
Right. Okay, so tell everybody who you are, what you do, how you got started, your background, all that good stuff.
Okay.
And then, by the way, for those who have ever watched, I take copious notes while you're talking so that if something sparks for me, I can bring it up. Also, I want to quickly point out, as people are watching this live with us, this isn't just a conversation between him and I. It is a conversation between us and you. So if you guys have questions or thoughts, or just want to give him some love because he's awesome, feel free to put your comments or questions in the comment bar. You can also hit the question card, and I can pull that question up later. But, I'm sure we're going to be talking about his festival in particular, and also strategies on how to win his festival.
and just strategies of how to be in festivals in general, because I think there's some stuff that seems real obvious but may not be unless you've heard it.
Right. Cool. Yeah, because a lot of people, I mean, I've only done one festival circuit for our show, and I just kind of learned as I went. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and tell me all about you and your background and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Anthony DeVito. I'm a native New Yorker. I've lived here my whole life. I started out I went to art school for college, so my initial professional background is in advertising. I worked in advertising agencies for many years as an art director and a creative director, and then a writer.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Oh,
I thought I wanted to do that as a kid. That's what I thought I wanted to do. And then I was like, no. But it's
you know what though? It was it turned out to not be kind of for me, but it was like kind of that foxhole mentality. Like, I learned a lot of skills and kind of techniques and things that I've been able to bring over into other parts of my life, which to me, again, this is when we get to talk about IndieBOOM. It's stuff that is very obvious to me because I have a marketing advertising background that a lot of people just never learned. And it's been fun teaching people kind of some of the basics that for me are like second nature. So so while I was still working in advertising, I decided to start doing stand-up comedy, which I did for many years in New York, and improv comedy and sketch. And from there, I transitioned into acting, which is what I still do. And in 2011, we launched the Art of Brooklyn Film Festival, which is our main kind of traditional live event film festival. Even though for 2020 was our 10th anniversary, we had to go virtual because of, you may have heard of COVID. I think you may have seen it on the news. Tucked in behind after the weather, after we do the weather. So that was a scary kind of moment for us that thankfully worked out really well, and we were able to pivot and have a really good, successful festival online that the filmmakers and the audiences really loved. And really, that's what matters to us.
Well, and also, I mean, I feel like it was probably almost easier for you than other people to go virtual with your live event because you've been doing it with IndieBOOM. So you have the infrastructure, you've got all that stuff done.
We've kind of been on the streaming, like, really been into the streaming thing since the very beginning. There was a technology learning curve that we had to do that was, again, intense, but like you said, because we had kind of the grounding and stuff we'd been doing, it wasn't all new. But you know, it was about like integrating Zoom and all that other stuff that was new to us. But you know, again, it was intense, but it worked. So as long as it worked, that's all we care about. And then I slept for about a week and a half afterward. So we've been doing Art of Brooklyn since 2011, and this is our fourth season of IndieBOOM. And we started that as like an online only streaming festival idea because, again, as someone who has made a lot of indie stuff myself and friends and network and even filmmakers that I've met, there's so much good content out there. And for the people that are trying to professionalize and trying to take their work maybe to the next level, they you know, the challenges are always, how do you get an audience for your work, and then how do you keep one, and then what do you use that audience for once you have one? You know, it's not just the YouTube model where it's like, I want 5 million followers so I can monetize. You know, make money on ads. It's not that. It's about you know, how do I do, like, what do I bring with me if I'm pitching investors? Like, how do I prove that to someone who might hire me that I've been doing this and I'm a known quantity? So like, that's where we feel like IndieBOOM kind of lives, because it's more about activating and growing the audience than it is a traditional film festival where it's, you submit stuff and then we pick the winners. It doesn't, as you know, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's about,
so it's perfect. Yeah. So this is leading us. So tell everybody what IndieBOOM is, because it's so unique, and how it works.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about, like, you're just bringing up so many good things. I'm like, I want to get to all of it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's so good. I feel like this is going to be one of those talks where people are going to want to go back and watch again and take notes.
Yeah.
Because of your wealth of knowledge.
Me too.
And because of your wealth of knowledge of, you know, your marketing background and how to do all these things.
Yeah.
As you know, like, we as actors are not taught how to do this. If you go to actor school, if you go to actor college, you know, if you go to college or whatever, you're taught your craft, but you're not taught the business side, which always bothers me. Right. And then even if you are taught afterwards, if you like glean information and take courses and stuff about your actor business side, as you transition to a producer of content, there's a whole other thing you have to think about, which is not scary. I don't want to scare people when they see this or hear this. Right. It's just tools that need to be learned. And if you think of them as fun things, like, it's okay. Don't be threatened. It's gonna be fun.
And things and you know, the part that we forget, especially as actors, is that, like, things build on themselves. They build on each other. Like, when I was doing stand-up a lot, you know, one of the things that younger stand-ups would always kind of, you know, they'd track you down on social media or after a show and be like, how do I book this show, or how do I break in? And it's like, you break in by breaking in. Like, you have to, there aren't really any steps that are skippable. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to learn how to do it first. And as you're learning how to get better, you're also creating a community with other people at your level, and maybe people who are more established. And then you create a reputation. You can't create a reputation by typing emails or posting. You have to do it by showing you can do the thing you say you want to do. And then other people are like, oh, you know what? You know who'd be good for that show? Anthony's good for that. He's really funny. He shows up on time, and we don't have to worry that that's something that he's going to be a train wreck. Yeah. And I feel like it's the same with anything where you're in any kind of media or independent art. The community part of it, where everybody knows everybody and hopefully progresses together, that's how you, and there's no shortcuts for that.
And I always tell people, I know I've talked about this a million times on these lives, but The people that I know who are doing really well, and by really well, I mean like they're booking, they're consistently doing guest stars, or they're starting to book guest stars, they're starting to go out for series regulars, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I will often ask them, how long have you been doing this at this level? Like doing, since you've been here, how long has it been? And the average answer is somewhere between 7 to 12 years.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I find somebody who's doing incredibly well and they've only been here a year. That, like, unless you are young or you are like the hottest thing that needs to be on the CW right now, like that. Yeah. So yeah, you have to take that. It just takes time to build a network of people who know who you are.
Right.
And you don't want to skip over that step because you're going to learn all sorts of new cool things and skills and people.
Right.
Like you said, you shouldn't, there's no skipping the steps. And I'm like, right. Because if you do skip a step and you suddenly become like a series regular after having done nothing, you're probably going to crash and burn because you just don't know enough. Right.
Yeah. And also let's be a little bit real. Like, the people who seem to come out of nowhere, they've been doing it and
they've been doing it. Yeah.
They also may have a network behind them that you don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
there
what I mean?
Are no overnight successes, really.
No, I remember Janine Garofalo had a joke years ago that she used to say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because the public just knows you now, it doesn't mean that like you haven't been working and getting better and studying and failing and doing whatever you can do. It's just that, I'm watching Netflix and I've never seen you before. Like, that doesn't mean that this is your first thing. Right. It's just your first thing I've seen.
Right.
So.
Okay, so let's go back. Tell us all about IndieBOOM, your cool as hell festival. It's so cool, you guys. And how it works and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, we had, it was one of those things that was kind of like, we wanted to do something specifically that was streaming focused because, we know how everybody watches. I mean, we're doing this on a phone, right?
Yeah,
so everybody's watching stuff that way. And we wanted it to be more about like engaging, giving the filmmakers and the creators, because not everyone sees themselves as a filmmaker, but they make stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to change it. Like when we do something, I'm always like, well, I don't want to just do this and like our version of what is already being done, because we're always doing it from the ground up, because we're artists as well and we're not corporate. So it's like we have to have a hook that is interesting, right? So we thought, what if it was not so much about us as a gatekeeper, deciding who wins what, but it's the filmmakers using social media. The ones that really love it can use social media to get eyes on their work, and then the people watch for free, and then we tally up all the total time watched, and then we give our awards that way.
Yeah.
So we're rewarding the filmmaker for making the good stuff, but then showing here's the next step, because it's showing the creator that you always have to be involved in taking your work to the next level. You don't just wait around for somebody to pluck it and be like, okay, you're this now. It doesn't work that way. It can be frustrating, but it's one of those things that, like, if you have these skills, if you like to even do content for social media, why not do it to promote your own work? Yeah. People see it, then they follow you, then your audience got that much bigger. And then if you have the most, time viewed for the whole festival, you win $500 so that you can pay your rent or
invest it in your company or make the next thing or whatever.
Or pay your editor so that you can fix your next, you can finish your next thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's the idea that, like, trying to give people, especially emerging younger creators, this kind of like boost of, you're not just succeeding in this weird little vacuum, like you're out in it with everybody else, and then you guys, the creators, can all follow each other and boost each other. And that's the kind of thing that's like, all right, well, I have X amount of followers. People really like my work. This is why I want you to invest in my next project or whatever.
Right.
So we wanted to make it less of a traditional film festival and more of a game that kind of gives people something to get excited about and lets your audience feel like they're an active participant in your success. They're not just passive, like, hey guys, watch this.
Right.
No, watch this and help me win. It's like, oh, I can be a part of this.
Yeah.
I can help you.
Yeah.
And
everybody, like, we're a very helpful lot. People, right?
True.
Like creators, we want everyone to succeed.
The good ones do. The good ones do.
That's true. That's true.
But this is another thing. It's like, understanding that supporting other people, it's not like a zero-sum game. Like it's not taking anything away from you.
Right.
It's this notion that you are building this system, this support system that will benefit you at some point. You may not know how now, but it will help you.
Yeah. So people, they submit to you guys, and then you guys have like do you have a panel of people that watch everything?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so how does that work?
We have a panel that watch everything.
Okay.
And everyone writes their comments, and we decide to curate from there. And we have different it's a different kind of set of how we judge is different than, like, say, for the Art of Brooklyn. It's more, there's a lot, we have people that are maybe much earlier in their kind of filmmaking or creating career with IndieBOOM, which is fun. So it's like, maybe it isn't the most technically proficient, but there's something funny about it, or there's something there that, like, is very sincere. So we judge it that way, and then we program a slate. We don't really have like a number of how many films we are aiming for. We always see what we get, and then like each year we've been programming more, but we have a lot of categories, so it's good to get more.
You do have a lot of categories. I remember that. Yeah, and that's helpful for people because then they can get a little more specific and be able to niche themselves a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, and again, I think it helps for people who, again, maybe don't really know the film festival world, or they don't see themselves as like, oh, I can't be part of that. That's not what I do. I'm not a film festival filmmaker. It's like, but you're doing something. You're an artist and you're creating, and the thing that you made is good.
Yeah.
So, and even if it's, we've also tried to, one of the things, as you know, I'm sure, online film festivals have always gotten kind of a bad rap. There's a lot of, it feels a little old-fashioned to me, especially at this point. But, I get it, because I've researched a lot of others, and they don't seem like, I don't know what they quite are. But so we've kind of like, again, tried to make it like take the scary kind of intimidating part out of it.
Yeah. So
that it's more, the different categories are things that maybe a regular film festival might not be interested in.
Oh, yeah.
So like fan films and things like that. Like, and we've gotten so much fun stuff that way that it's, we want it to feel inclusive as possible.
And I like that you encourage new people, like people who are making maybe this is their first project or, something like that. That's cool. So you guys get submissions, you have a panel, you guys kind of curate down. How many submissions do you get every year?
It goes up each year. I think last year we got almost 100.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
we need to get the word out, you guys. We need to get the word out more because I feel like your festival is so cool that I feel like we need more people to know about it.
Great.
Great. So people, you curate what you get sent, and then the work becomes those people doing active campaigning for their stuff. So I can tell you from my experience doing it, This is what we did. So this is for, so my producer partner, Lynn, and I, we made this mockumentary web series called Life Group in 2018. Or at least I should say we submitted it in 2018. I think like 2017 is where we were. But once we got in, it became our job to post it every day, so that we're trying to get as many eyeballs for people to go and watch it. And it wasn't just like watching one episode. Like, I think we had put all the episodes together.
Yeah, the way we do it is if you have a web series, everything's eligible as long as it's under 40 minutes.
Right. And ours was like 32 or something like that.
So if you have a series of like, say, 5, 6-minute episodes, we ask that you put them all into one video first.
Yeah.
So that becomes your submission.
Right. So it almost becomes like a short film in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then what we did was, well, it's anytime. Hi, it's Wednesday.
You're excited. You're excited. I get it.
It was helpful that we had a large cast, because then we could ask them to push it out there. It was helpful that our networks were, like, some of our cast members' networks were really big because they had been curating them, but also like some of them were well known within their industry.
Right.
But we were posting, we like took all of our materials, we were posting, we created memes, we created little video snippets, we created, like all sorts of different types of content that we can then post every single day.
Yeah, you guys, I still remember how impressive, because it was like, you guys, you were like, this is the concept kind of in action.
Yeah.
Like, you totally got it, and you got what it was about, and you immediately figured out how to make the most of it.
Yeah.
And it was very impressive, because every time I went to my phone, I'm like, they have a new thing.
They have a new thing.
I'm like, this is also great for me, because I was just reposting everything.
Yeah.
In addition,
which was really helpful for us. Like, it was like a team sport. Yeah, it was really cool.
And that's the thing. Everybody that anyone creates, as long as they tag us and I see it, we just repost it, because the least we can do if our whole thing is about boosting is we can boost you as well.
Yeah.
That way we're not playing favorites. It's just like, well, you did 7 posts, so you put the work in, so we're gonna amplify it.
And we just made sure that every day we were posting something unique.
Right.
And so that it didn't get repetitive, because we never wanted to post the same thing. Yeah. And again, it was helpful that we had 5 or 6 main cast members, so we were able to use bits and pieces. So it, like, we spread it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it was kind of, and I think the reason we were good at it is because we had done the same kind of thing when we were fundraising with Kickstarter. So with Kickstarter, I think we kickstarted for 3 or 4 weeks, but we recognized, I learned a lot from that. And what we recognized really early is that when you're fundraising to fundraise a project, it is absolutely almost like a second job, right? Because the amount of strategy and things that you want to do, and the waves and putting together, our fundraising campaign had a theme. And then since then, like, a couple people I know who have fundraised have taken that idea of the theme, and like, they've been successful too. So we were able to kind of take some of the stuff we had learned in fundraising and apply it to this, because we were already in the mode of posting.
Right.
And that got us enough eyeballs, at least for the comedy category. It didn't get us enough eyeballs for the whole thing, but for the comedy category, we got to win that, which was like, it meant so much to me that enough people saw it and liked it that they wanted to share it. So,
but, to your point, like, things kind of feed each other. So now, because of what you did for IndieBOOM, you probably will now be better at their next Kickstarter.
Oh, absolutely.
And then that will make you better. Like, and it's, it's fun, and the result is fun, but like,
skills, it's like the skill sets.
And you can't deny that promoting your work is a lot of work.
It's so much work. That's why these big studios have entire departments to do that job. And they have, you know, hundreds of people working for them and a whole team, a whole fleet of people making the pieces of content that is going to get put out. And there's a whole other, you know, there's a whole other team who does the strategy portion of that. And so
and
it
then
is
they
a
can
skill.
also they can buy the media. So
and
they
can buy
see
the
it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, the stuff we're doing is as good as the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
They just can pay to have it.
Yeah.
Like, why is it on my toothbrush? Like, they can have it everywhere. Oh,
he's frozen. Oh, there we go.
You froze. That was such a good joke. You froze. But you know what I mean.
You stopped out. I absolutely know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, let's not diminish like how important a big media budget is. And when you don't have that, you have to use ingenuity and creativity, which is the whole indie filmmaking thing to begin with. It's like you don't have the money, you have to replace the money with good stuff. And
I think it used to be that people who would make stuff before social media was really like the thing. Yeah. It was a lot harder. It was a lot harder for a lot of reasons. One is, at that time, also the equipment that was available to people wasn't great. And now equipment, like, you can rent stuff. You've got a friend in your life who's got stuff that you can use. Yeah. And I think I'm almost glad that we didn't have a big budget for. Well, actually, we had no budget for advertising. We just used our wits, and because of that, we were able to test out different things. Right. You know, we were able to do the things that, like, copywriters and advertisers do, split test things and, like, be able to do different things so that we saw what was working, we saw what was hitting. I still do it with Rock Your Reel. Like, I have all sorts of different kind of content, and I'm starting to really learn, like, what people want. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing for when you're promoting your own projects.
We used to call that in my ad agency days, the Matrix.
The Matrix.
Not the movie The Matrix, but it was the Matrix was the big giant spreadsheet monster that showed all the different versions of whatever the thing we were doing and why they were slightly different based on the audience that was going to see them. Yeah. And, you know, learning that kind of, you know, being able to kind of allow yourself to think in lots of new ways when you're promoting is it's a good skill to learn and to hone, because it will make your writing better. You know, it's like how when in the early days, Twitter made me a better comedy writer, because it was a very short, and I also was like, I wanted to come at a joke in a different way that everybody else was doing it. So it kind of giving yourself the kind of the gift of, like, okay, now here's where the creative stuff merges with the business stuff. Yeah. And not seeing the business stuff as something that you resent or that you don't feel you have to do. Right. That's the thing that kind of will separate you and will help you start to move forward.
I am such a proponent of this. I absolutely agree with you. And I come at it from having owned a business for a really long time. So, you know, business is not scary to me. It's exciting. But for a lot of actors or creators, it's scary because we're not taught it. We don't know the buzzwords. We don't know, like, they don't know how to do stuff. It's like a really scary concept. And I think what's helpful is to start small, you know, there's so many different, maybe you have some really good places people could learn. So if somebody's wanting to learn how to better advertise their stuff, like principles, strategies, do you have any places that you would send them?
That's a good question.
You know, there's a lot of, like, copywriting things on websites. There's, you know, you can search Pinterest copywriting and you'll get all sorts of interesting things to learn.
Right.
You know,
I would say, you know, there are a lot of, you know, if you just Google, I don't have any off the top of my head, like, resources for, like,
or like phrases that they can Google. That would be even helpful, right?
Yeah. You know, social media marketing basics, or promotion basics, like things like that. There's a lot of resources out there, but I would say a really good tip would be to keep kind of like a running list of stuff that you see that you really like, and then just kind of like reverse engineer it and take it apart and
Yes.
say, why do I feel like this is good? Is it because, you know, oh, I see this person, they took the thing that they did, but the way into making me watch it was based on something that was in the news yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So the hashtag or the theme of it is kind of, you know, like I have to do this. I have to check myself too when I'm doing stuff for IndieBOOM specifically. I have to say, don't just keep doing call for entries. It's good to get it out there, but it might, you know, it might become like background noise after a while. So the most recent one post I did was just reminding people that we have a free Roku and Fire TV app.
Right.
And one of our prizes is the previous year's winners stream for the whole year on that. And then once the new festival's out, we replace with all the new stuff.
Right.
And then the winners stay on for the full year. So people can watch it online or there. But I'm like, you know what? There's good free content on there. Let people know, like, tell people about the thing you want them to know in a way that maybe is unexpected. And then your call to action, whatever that is, like watch now or donate or help us, whatever, or sign up, is at the end. But let the beginning part give yourself permission to play around with how to grab people.
Right.
And have fun with it.
Your idea of looking at what other people are doing or what's caught your attention and then saving that. Yeah. For people who don't know, that's called a swipe file.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So you like put that on your you know, computer or on your phone if that's where you do most of your stuff. Just like save it into a folder or whatever. But I would also recommend, so do that thing, but also look at sort of how your favorite studios are advertising their shows. Right. Go. So like or go to the, you know, especially since all of this is mostly online, that's how we're getting people to see our stuff. Right. Like go to those networks, go to those shows, Instagram pages, to their YouTube pages, to, you know, their IGTV, their TikToks, whatever. How are they doing it? Look at their past work for the past, you know, several weeks and go, you know, what have they been putting out? Is it usually funny? Is it, you know, are they making memes? Are they doing like little, like, are they making GIFs? Like, what are they doing? And see if you can't do that for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that will change based on what your project is.
Right.
So if it's comedy, it'll have one tone. If it's drama, it will be completely different. But there's also look at networks too. Yeah. Certain networks are really good at this. I always think of Pop TV.
Pop is great.
Because I love Pop Creek so much.
First of all, you love what?
Schitt's Creek.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into a whole SCTV thing with you because we'll be here for all day.
We'll be here forever. But they specifically, so interestingly, I don't know if you know this, but Schitt's Creek went with Pop, so they were being courted by ABC and Pop. And they went with Pop because Pop specifically didn't want to change anything. They just loved the show, and they were able to create content around the show that was so unique and fresh. And I agree. It's a masterclass. I think they're great.
Yeah, but they're like, you know, they're really good at their meme game and their GIF. I mean, like, you know. Yeah.
And they have a really good, you know, they have a really good project in order to do
well,
that.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that's helpful.
But the characters and the actors, I mean, it's like, it's just like there's so much there. Yeah. But, you know, think about what you could do. What I would say is don't feel like you have to try to be all things to all people. Like, know what your thing is, know what makes your thing unique, and focus on that, because it can get really overwhelming to think like you have to know who your audience is and who you think your audience is and who you want your audience to be, and market and promote to them. You're not like Skippy Peanut Butter. Like, that's not what you are.
Right.
So part of it is knowing who your tribe is and making sure that they support you and that they see you and you see them.
Yeah.
And
so,
you know.
For the people who, we have about 16 minutes left, and I always run out of time, so I'm going to try and do really well with like not letting it cut us off.
Yeah.
For the people who submit to you guys, since you see so many entries,
yeah,
what do you feel like? Let's start with what people are doing right, and then
yeah.
some of the things that people are doing wrong, so
Okay.
that as somebody who's watching this who maybe is inspired and wants to make their own stuff because it seems less scary now.
Yeah.
They can be thinking about at the beginning. So let's talk about what their people are doing right.
I think in terms of right, it's just I think that people are doing work that they know that they can nail. Like they're not, I think, and I've gone through this as a creative person as myself, do the best version of the thing you can do right now.
Right.
Don't think like, well, I have a green screen and I'm funny, but it doesn't count unless I'm pulling my hair out over a shooting schedule and I can't get my locations and my other actors didn't show up and the sound guy and this and that, like, and I don't have anybody to do the effects. It's like, but maybe the thing that you're doing in front of the green screen is more than enough right now.
Right.
So set yourself up to succeed where you're not, especially if you're just starting out, give yourself the chance to have good experiences with on-camera stuff. Don't feel like you have to shoot for the moon the first one, because you will say, I obviously can't do this. I didn't go to school for it. I don't have a degree. I don't deserve to be doing this. I'm not a pro. It's not really about that. It's about what can you do now, and do that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a scene between two people at a table because you're learning how to edit.
Yeah.
And then that's great. And guess what? You got a great little scene, and now you can use those skills for your next thing. But let the thing that you know how to do now be enough.
Right. I love that. Yeah.
So
also, go ahead.
No, I think that the people that are doing it right, they're making the most out of what they can do in the moment.
Right.
They're
and
not
also,
doing,
good sound. Please have good sound.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. Sound. We say this with every chance I get. Sound is a deal breaker.
Yeah. If
the sound is bad, we can't program it.
Yeah.
Because nothing upsets an audience more than when they can't hear something, because it makes them feel stupid. It makes them feel like they're missing something. They can't follow the story. Sound to me is more important than like whatever crazy camera you rented.
Yeah.
Like if it's on your phone, I don't care. If it sounds great, I'm invested.
I mean, hell, they've made a couple of features on iPhones that had billboards outside of my house. So, yeah. Cool. Okay, so what are some things that people maybe aren't doing well that they should think about before they get started?
I would say look at all the stuff that you can do that's free and like get that kind of on lock. So like if you're going to be wanting to do this and get this work out to a wider audience, don't not have social media. Like just and make it easy to find. Have a website. Websites might feel old-fashioned in some ways, but they're not. They're your hub. You get your domain, and even if your website is just the links to your Twitter, your Instagram, whatever you have them there. Don't make people have to do detective work to find you.
Yeah.
If you're on Film Freeway, which is what most people are on that are submitting to festivals, complete the profile.
Yes.
Put your genre, put the synopsis, put a director bio, put your social media links. Like when it's all blank, it makes us feel like you either don't know that it's important or you don't care that it's important.
Right.
And
or that you're really like, it kind of just shows that you're really green.
Yeah, and it's like green in a way that like there's kind of no excuse to not know about that stuff now.
Right.
When kids aren't know it, like there's it's free. And you don't have to have 1 million followers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you have to know, you have to show that you understand like what the little basic blocks are, and then you go from there.
Right.
Yeah, and then just be professional. Always like if you don't get into something, do not send a nasty email. It might feel good in the moment. It might feel like you're sticking it to somebody, but it's not good.
I think one of the things that I learned in submitting to festivals, and then now getting to talk to you, and then a couple weeks ago, my friend Adam, who runs a very different kind of festival.
Yeah.
Most festivals that you're going to submit to are run by humans. They're run by people who are doing it for the love of running them.
Yes.
They are not Sundance.
No.
They're not corporately sponsored. They're not.
No.
They are literally volunteering their time and their energy because of the love of the work and the love of the filmmakers and the creators themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you send, I'm so sorry. I hope that's never happened to you, that you've gotten a letter or an email.
Sure.
Oh God.
Sure. But you know what I have to say is they, that type of thing for us anyway has dropped way off.
That's good.
I think that it's, I'm going back like a decade now from when we first started, and I think that people are a little more savvy about that kind of stuff, and I also think that like, I would never do that, and most festivals would never do it. But do you really want to be the guy that like sent the nasty email with all the curse words in it that then gets put up on social media, like? Because you don't
want to be that guy
where they didn't blur your name out because you were a real, you know what I mean?
You're a real asshole. Yeah.
It's just like, if you don't get into a festival, there's a lot of reasons, and the reason that your work wasn't good enough is probably way down on the list.
Right.
It's like, well, it didn't fit, or we had too many, or we had 7 other films just like this one. Like there's a curation thing.
Yeah.
Just
like as an actor, you not getting a role is usually never personal, and the same thing for your film or your stuff. It's not personal.
Right.
It's not like Anthony's going to look at your stuff that you've submitted and be like, you know what, Melissa, I hate her. I'm just not going to put, like, that's not what it's going to be.
Hate her. No, the truth is, I hate ever rejecting anyone. Yeah. I hate it. Yeah. I wish that we, but there's a certain like, even when a traditional festival only has so much screen time, it can't go on for 42 days. Like it just can't. So it's, it's about like, and if you get rejected a lot, there are also things you can look at, like, is my film too long? Is it a really long short that's hard to program? Is it, what is it about it? Like, do I feel like maybe I didn't get enough feedback on it, or maybe I just have to step back and be like, all right, you know what? Maybe this wasn't the one, but I'm learning from this.
Right.
Don't let it shut you down, because the business is mostly rejection. And as an actor, I often will, I'll get an audition and I'll read the character breakdown and be like, I'm not going to get a call back for this. I already know. I'll still do my best because I want the casting director to know I'm a professional and that like I brought something to it. But I'm like, I know I'm physically all wrong for this. But sometimes,
I'll say sometimes you can surprise them and they don't know what they're looking for.
Right.
I don't know if Jon Snow is still on here, but he's a friend of mine who comes on and talks a lot about auditioning because he's been a reader for a long time. And one of the things he says is that like casting doesn't know what they want usually, or that they're still figuring it out. So sometimes if you're getting called in, it's probably because they're like, we don't know, maybe this could work.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same thing for for festivals, is that your goal as the festival runner is always to show the best work, but also to be, like you said, really inclusive. And sometimes it's about time, sometimes it's about sound, sometimes it's things that it's not personal.
Right. And also maybe if you feel like, you don't need to submit to festivals for as validation that you should be doing this. Do it because you know you want to do it, and you know you're getting better. And then it's like, I think a lot of times people jump the gun and maybe they submit something when they're not quite ready yet, because the competition is tough. Mm-hmm. There's so much good stuff out there that, you know, it's when you're making a project, you're kind of in your own bubble, and you've seen it a million times, and it's like you're not even sure, what is this now? Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Yeah. But, you know, maybe don't be in such a hurry to, you know, it's funny, I'm being like, don't submit. No, but the idea is, you know, just be like, or if you decide, I'm going to submit this, be okay with whatever happens.
Right.
Knowing that it's not going to be all good news. It's right. Just, you know.
Right. I would also say for those who have maybe never submitted to festivals before, or if you're starting out on your creator journey and you know you're going to make something and you know that you want to submit it, set aside some budget money.
Yes.
Because submitting to film festivals is not free. And, you know, the earlier you can get in, usually there's early bird registration, so it's a lot less, but the further along you go, the more expensive it gets. I think we spent somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $800 for our show to submit to, like, you know, 15 or 16 different film festivals.
Right.
Some festivals we submitted to were because they were inexpensive, you know, but some other ones we submitted to, you know, I think maybe the most we ever spent was $75 or $80, but I know that they go up from there. I mean, if you're going into big stuff and you have a feature or something like that, it can get even longer. So just set aside money. You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to circle back to, and we have about 10 minutes or so to do that, or okay. Like 8 minutes. But because of your background in marketing, you said that there are things that you know to do that a lot of people just don't know to do.
Right.
The basics, right?
Yeah.
What would you, if you could nail down like maybe 2 or 3 of those, what would be your most important ones that you would wish that everybody knew?
And in terms of what part of the process? Like,
maybe, I don't know, in terms of specifically getting your work out there, you know, you've made the thing, now let's market the thing.
Right. I would say get your kind of building blocks in place, and that would be a tight synopsis of your film. You know, it doesn't have to be like a log line or whatever, but a synopsis. If your film is or work is a little longer, definitely cut a trailer. It's a very easy way to. It's a step that I'm surprised how many people don't do.
Because it's hard. We made one, and it's hard.
It's hard
because what's fascinating is that you have to have your stuff done, and then you have to figure out how to tell the story without giving everything away.
Right.
But making it interesting and wanting us to see more. But like, I look at other trailers of movies and stuff, I'm like, do I even need to go see the movie?
But also understand what the point of your trailer is.
Yeah.
Because the trailer, the festival people are going to watch the whole film because they have to. That they should be doing that.
Yeah.
A teaser is different. If you're trying to get people interested in clicking on something or going somewhere, there's a difference between a trailer that's trying to get you to pay to see the movie, like to buy a ticket or to do video on demand. That's a different kind of a trailer. Teaser trailers are a little easier because they don't have to be so linear, and they're kind of giving you a flavor of the movie. Right. But it's a good thing to have some good stills, like a selection of stills. And if you're uploading stuff to Film Freeway, don't just have all your stills be on-set production stills.
Right.
Like, I know what a boom mic looks like. I know what someone looks like when they're looking at a camera. Like, that's great, but there should be stills that we can use for our marketing. That is also part of your marketing.
So it's basically it sounds like is collect and create your assets.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
get your social media accounts. You don't have to be on everything, but Instagram is important. You know, I kind of, when we started all of this, not with IndieBOOM, but before, you know, I didn't use Instagram as much. And then I was like, you know what, I have to use Instagram. It just was, I had to make that transition, and it's okay. But it was, you know, I definitely resisted it. Maybe it's a generational thing, but I was just like, you can't.
You got to be where your audience is. And
you
like
have
where,
to know, right.
Yeah.
You have to know what's expected of you, even if you personally don't like it.
Right.
So, but also, like, you know, feel like, have almost like a smaller group, of trusted people that you can bounce stuff off of, that you know are going to give you constructive feedback. I wouldn't recommend, like, sometimes you see in these like indie filmmaker groups on Facebook or whatever, somebody will just throw something up they made. What do you think, guys? And it's like, you don't want to do that. Like, you don't want to get feedback from strangers, because they'll either rip it to shreds because they're in a bad mood that day, or like, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
Get some people that you can get constructive criticism from. Not just, I don't like it. Like what was, I felt like the story didn't grab me, or I felt like, you know, the ending was weird. Like, stuff you can actually use, not just, I loved it, or I loved it because you made it, or I hate it, but I don't know why.
Right.
And then just keep an open mind to when you think you have everything, you might not.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, always feel like it's okay to go back and add to your assets, or add to your toolkit based on something new that you learned, or feedback that you got.
I feel like if you're actively promoting something, or, you know, because making it's the first half of the battle, and then getting it out there is the second half of the battle. And if you're in that getting it out there part, I feel like you should be making new stuff at least every week. Right? Like, it's not just like you have the one set of stuff and then that's all you use. You're exactly right. Take that, make it go deeper, do a different flavor on it. Now there's TikTok, and everybody should be on TikTok. And, you know, now there's Instagram Reels, which is a TikTok ripoff, but it's still a useful tool. And so, like, you know, one of the things that I think made us successful is that we tried to be on that leading edge. We tried to do the things and be out there as much as we possibly could. Is there when somebody's thinking about strategy, which is one of my very favorite words.
Yeah.
When you think about strategy, do you have like a keystone thing that you're like, my strategy is always going to include this, or these are the things that I think about when I'm creating a strategy? I know that's kind of a deep question. I feel like that's a whole other
No. But like a strategy for, like, give me an example of a strategy for what?
So if somebody has gotten into IndieBOOM and they have a cool, maybe their show or film is a lot like, you know, What We Do in the Shadows, right? Like a funny vampire,
right.
You know, like if they're trying to get it out there, what should they be thinking about? Number one probably is who's the audience for this, and where is that audience found?
Right. Yeah, right? I think. No, continue.
No, just say anything else that you immediately think of when you think of strategy.
I think your strategy is different based on what your goal of the thing you're doing is. But I think that the main points of a strategy always have to include make it really, really simple for the person on the other end to do the thing you want them to do.
That's great.
So, like the old classic link in bio, like make the link in the bio the thing you want people to click on, even if you have to change it week to week.
Right.
If you have a new thing and you don't know, like, how do I find my community? Follow people or accounts that are like the thing you're doing, and also engage with them. When you're new and you're trying to get, even if it's just opening it up and doing a string of likes of stuff in your timeline that you like offer something too.
Yeah.
People want you to do something for them, but they're not really doing anything in the other direction.
Right.
It's
right.
like the fact that you have a thing that you created is great, but you still, it's a community, and you have to kind of figure out how to be in that community.
Right. So I've gotten the countdown. We have 1 minute, 50 seconds remaining. So we're gonna end this now. I feel like I need to have you back at some point to talk about.
I think you do too.
Yeah, and I think, but specifically about this topic, because I think also there's a difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy
Absolutely.
is what you want. Tactics is how you do it. And I think
right.
that's like, people don't really get the difference between that.
People go very tactical when they think they're being strategic.
Right. And I have fallen into that trap. So I'm learning how to not be that way anymore too. So if people want to get in touch with you, or they want to enter IndieBOOM, like, what's the best way? How can people find you, connect with you?
Yeah, just go to, you can follow us on Instagram, but our website is IndieBOOMFest.com. And you'll see it, link's in bio. Imagine if it wasn't, and they were like, "This guy's a fraud." It was like to Instacart, like, "Oh, I did it wrong."
That's funny.
But yeah, everything we lay out how everything works, and also we keep our older stuff, our previous season stuff. If the filmmaker's okay with it, we keep it on the site so that people can continue to watch. If they ask us to take it down, we just do. So we don't want to ruin your other festival journey. But if it's something that you are okay with leaving up, we do, because it helps you get more views.
That's awesome.
And you'll see we have no rules against older content, because maybe you learned all these.
I saw that you said you did a post a little while ago. I've got 20 seconds left. To if you have older content that you never did anything with, but you want to try and put it out there, submit it to him. We're gonna run out of time. I'm so sorry. But thanks, Anthony, for coming on here.
Oh, my pleasure. This was really fun.
So this will be on our IGTV and also our YouTube and everything. So if you have a project, go submit it to IndieBOOM. He's awesome. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye, Anthony.